بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على محمد الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، وبعد. اسمي عبد الله من ولاية كاليفورنيا. أنا مولود في أمريكا، درست في كلية شرعية في جنوب أفريقيا، وأنا متخصص في الذبح واللحم الحلال واللحوم المستوردة وطريقة الذبح. ومن لم يفهم اللغة العربية إن شاء الله سنعمل ترجمة إن شاء الله في النهاية إن شاء الله. فاليوم لا أريد أتكلم في الفقه وفي تعيين الحرام وتعيين الحلال، هذا لا أريد أن أفعل هذا. إنما أريد أن أتكلم معكم وأتكلم كما يقولون: سل المجرب لا تسل الحكيم. بحمد الله تعالى زرت مسالخ في العالم، زرت مسالخ في جنوب أمريكا، زرت مسالخ في نيوزيلند، أستراليا، في أمريكا، وفي أنحاء العالم بحمد الله. أوروغواي في أسفل ساوث أمريكا، زرت مسالخ هناك كذلك. والسؤال مهم، أنا أعرف الناس يريد يتكلم في الآية: وطعام الذين أوتوا الكتاب حل لكم وطعامكم حل لهم. الناس يريد يتكلم في هذا الأمر. أنا أقول كما يقول الإمام مالك رحمه الله. يعني أنا مولود في أمريكا، أنا شفت الأحوال في الزمن القديم. لو كنت شاب، أنا وأبي كنا نذهب نزور المزرع، وكان يأخذ البندوق ويرمي الحيوان، وأبي كان يذهب يسعى ويذبح الحيوان، وهكذا كان نجد اللحم الحلال. لو كنت شاب صغير، عمري 10 سنوات. ورأينا يعني في أمريكا الأحوال قبل 30 سنوات كانت صعبة. الإنسان يسافر في أمريكا ويبحث عن اللحم يكون صعب. ونعرف يعني الله سبحانه وتعالى يقول: طعام الذين أوتوا الكتاب حل لكم. ولكن الإمام مالك كان يقول: أنا لا أجيز لأهل الكتاب أن يبيعوا لحمهم إذا كان اللحم حلال. أنا لا أجيز لهم. لماذا أجيز لهم؟ يوجد لحم الحلال، المسلم موجود، المسلخ موجود، المسلمون يذبحون. لماذا نجيز لأهل الكتاب أن يذبح؟ وكذلك أنا زرت مسالخ في أمريكا. مع الأسف الشديد اليهود فتنون ذكيون. هم يعرفون، هم يقول نصف البقر مردود عندهم، نصف البقر لا يجوز أكله عندهم. وهم يعرفوا القرآن ويعرف آية القرآن: طعام الذين أوتوا الكتاب حل لكم، خذوا منا. وشفت بعيني في مسلخ لليهود يجعلون شهادة إسلامية ويكتبون حلال ويبيعون للمسلمين. والله شفت بعيني هاتين. فهم يعني طيب. Okay. No problem. Yeah. So the Jews are very intelligent, they know how to use the system. In fact, there are slaughterhouses in America. The slaughter person is Yahud. The Jew, he will go, he will slaughter. A Muslim will stand by the side, say Bismillah, and they'll take the knife and put the knife over it, and they'll write halal and they'll write kosher both. Right? So it's a game. Right? And I've seen it with my own eyes. I walked with the Muslim owner. We walked into the slaughterhouse. I told him, do not allow this. We're not going to allow this. Right? If they want, tell them to write kosher. Tell them not to put halal there. Right? Because this is not slaughtered by a Muslim, it's slaughtered by Yahud, it's Ahl Kitab. So I've seen these type of systems. I've seen people using the system. And likewise, we have worked to set up hand slaughter plants here in America. We've worked to set up hand slaughtered meat plants here in America. And alhamdulillah, Muslims are able to slaughter, very interesting, 150 chickens a minute. Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. 8 Muslims working. There's a team of them. Each one of them takes the first chicken, second chicken, third chicken, fourth chicken, fifth chicken, and there's a system in place. So alhamdulillah, we've worked to set up such slaughterhouses. And alhamdulillah, that meat went all over America. That meat was going all over America. So this is a very serious matter. As I said, it's the future of our children. Right? It's the future of our children. قال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام في حديث صحيح إن الله طيب لا يقبل إلا طيبا وإن الله أمر المؤمنين بما أمر به المرسلين يا أيها الرسل كلوا من الطيبات واعملوا صالحا ثم ذكر رجلا أشعث أغبر أطال السفر يقول الشارحون للحديث أطال السفر يعني سفر الحج أطال السفر يرفع يديه يقول يا ربي يا ربي وملبسه حرام ومركبه حرام وغذي بالحرام فأنا يستجاب له. Right? So the Prophet Muhammad said in this hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pure and He only accepts that which is pure. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded the believers with the same command that He gave to the prophets. Eat from the lawful and wholesome foods and do good deeds. Then the Prophet Muhammad mentioned the example of a person who their appearance is unkempt, their appearance is dirty, and their hair is all over the place, aghbar, ash'ath, their hair is sticking out all over the place, and this person has been traveling for a long period of time. Atala Schafer, this person has been traveling for a long period of time. The scholars say they're on the way for Hajj. They're traveling on the way to Hajj. So the Prophet Muhammad mentioned this example. This person raises their hands and makes dua and says, "Oh my Lord, oh my sustainer, oh Allah, oh Allah." But this person's clothing is earned through unlawful sources, earned through haram. And this person's markab, their sayyara, their car, their means of conveyance is earned through unlawful sources. وَغُذِيَ بِالْحَرَامِ, and their body has been nourished through unlawful food. The Prophet Muhammad said, أَنَّا يُسْتَجَابَ لَهُ, there is no hope in this dua being accepted. This dua will not be accepted. Friends, it is a serious matter. Right? When we talk about eating halal, and we talk about halal food, and we talk about halal certification, halal restaurants, it is an important matter. Right? And as I said, I'm born in this country. I've seen years of the Muslims living in this country. And we see, Allah yakhtaru lidinihi man yasha. Al-Shab al-Multazim, Al-Shab al-Mutadayyin, we see within them there are certain qualities that they have. We've seen within them. Right? I've seen, mashallah, some amazing Muslim youth in this country. And interesting story, I was visiting Seattle. Right? So there's a youngster, Seattle. Right? He was a pharmacist, maybe at the age of 22. MashaAllah, he was a pharmacist. He was married. MashaAllah, very mature, multazim. If you look at him, MashaAllah, very mature, very upright person. We had a conversation. And during the conversation, he said, my whole life, I've only eaten the meat which my father slaughtered directly. That's the only meat I've eaten in my life. Right? Now, not everyone could do this, I understand this. These are just stories here. That there are people like this as well. This is the level of concern, the level of attention that they give to eating halal and slaughtering meat and ensuring that their family eats halal. And the system that we have in this country, it is a very difficult system. It is a very difficult system. Right? We talk about Ahl Kitab. 95% of the chicken in this country, it's not slaughtered by a Muslim, it's not slaughtered by a Jew, it's not slaughtered by a Christian, it's slaughtered by a machine. It's slaughtered by a machine. For Salat al-Maghrib, are we going to put a tape recorder and have the Shaykh, have a robot lead our Salat, you guys? With all respect, it's the same thing. Right? The way these slaughterhouses work, you press the button. We also have to understand the way of slaughtering beef in this country. Inshallah, I'll take questions then, inshallah. We also have to understand the way of slaughtering beef in this country. Right? Many of us don't know this. There's actually videos on this as well. The way of slaughtering beef in this country is something called a European cut. European cut. Right? So the non-Muslims, for whatever reason, they came up with this process. Right? And I have seen Muslims slaughtering with the same way. And I've seen it in the stores all over America. So the way they slaughter, they take the knife. The cow is hanging down upside down. They take the knife and they cut tulan laysa arda. Tulan. The guy goes in like this. Bismillah Allahu Akbar. Bismillah Allahu Akbar. Bismillah Allahu Akbar. This is the way they slaughter. How do we slaughter as Muslims? Arda. Unuq. Ala khalq. We slaughter this way. Right? So what are we supposed to slaughter? Wadjan, al-mari, al-hulqum, right? We are assigned to cut certain things. The non-Muslims in this country, this is the way they slaughter. They slaughter up and down. And the sad thing, there are Muslims, I've watched with my own eyes, they Bismillah Allahu Akbar, this is they slaughter, and you'll see the halal certificate put on top of that. And you'll see it sold all over America, you see it sold. Right? Even if a Muslim slaughters this way, hada mayta. Awdaj, you have to cut at least the al-hulqum wal-mari, you have to cut at least the two. No, those two are not cut. They're not cut. Right? This is mayta, this is haram. I've seen it with my own eyes. Many of you have heard of AMJA, the AMJA conference. I presented at AMJA. I spoke to the mashayikh there, and I presented my research there to the AMJA conference, and they also passed a resolution on this basis as well. So these are important issues we need to be aware of, right? Yes. Yes, brother. So, brother, what they're doing is the cow is hanging upside down. That's why it's a little bit complicated. The cow is hanging upside down. They start by the carotid artery. Yeah. No, down here, brother. So, but my point right now, I'm just sharing this information, right? So, but brother, the challenge is we as Muslims, we don't know what's going on, right? This is why I'm discussing this. We don't know what's going on. When we go to the store, right? One is cheaper, one is 30 cents cheaper. We as Muslims, what do? We look for the cheaper options. So you are very right as well, brother. So what happens? A lot of the blood stays in. And they make the money, they make the extra money from the blood. Right? So the difference, 100% right. كُلُوا مَا فُرِيَ أَوْدَاجُهُ وَأُنُهِرَ دَمُهُ أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. When we slaughter cows, they keep a garbage can underneath. That is how much blood that comes out. When we slaughter, their blood comes out in garbage can amounts. When they slaughter, they don't want that blood to come out. They want the esophagus and trachea, they want it to stay intact. Right? So this is just, I'm just sharing this information, but yes, these are issues we need to be aware of, right? And my point here is not to debate with anyone, right? My point here is not to say this is haram, this is halal, but just to bring our attention to this, and just so we should be aware of this, right? That if we can, right? If the option exists, my point here right now, not halal, haram, the option exists. If we know there's an option exists, a Muslim slaughtered by hand by saying Bismillah, that option exists, beware of that. Beware of that. There are some companies, it might be a little bit more expensive, you might have to drive a little bit more to get it, but beware of that option. Also the same thing with beef, like you said, brother. Right? If we know, mashallah, there's a slaughterhouse that's doing it the proper way, and that exists, beware of that again. Beware of that. And very interesting, in Australia, New Zealand, they all slaughter like exactly as you said, brother. Right? The awareness is there, so they slaughter horizontally. It's in America where we have people using the vertical kind. So brother, we also recommend, this is why education is important. There is a way to slaughter cows without shooting them, right? It's a little bit more expensive, right? What they do, they have a hydraulic system in place. So the cow walks in, and from the back, the door closes down, and from the front, there's just a hole that's open. So the cow sticks his head out, the hydraulic system locks it in, you slaughter the animal without shooting it, without doing anything to it. Yeah. But brother, so the technology is there. Again, we as Muslims, right? We're eating this, right? We're eating this, and when they're shooting there's places in America you walk in, they shoot the animal, they wait 4 or 5 minutes to slaughter. But I'm telling you, brother, this is the challenge. We have to be educated about this. Stunning is not, stunning causes extra pain to the animal. The ulama say stunning is haram. You're causing extra pain to the animal. If you can slaughter the animal without causing extra pain, in Allah katab al-ihsan fi kulli shay. فَإِذَا ذَبَحْتُمْ فَأَحْسِنُوا الذِّبْحَ. Right? So slaughter with compassion, slaughter with mercy, and slaughter in the best of ways. If you could avoid causing extra pain to the animal, that's what you should give preference to. And again, the taste will come back in the taste as well. What happens when they stun those cows and stun those animals, there's hemorrhaging of the blood. And when we eat the meat, it shows up in the meat as well. Right? So this is my point is education, brother. My point is education. Yes, illa ma dhakkaytum. Technically, as long as the animal is alive when you slaughter, technically it will be halal. So yes, brother. So this is not meant to be a fiqh debate, or it's meant to be an educational program. What we're trying to set up, we've already started here in Michigan. We're trying to set up a certification system, right? That's a goal, to set up a certification system, which would mean for those people who want the higher standard, for those people who want hand slaughter, for those people who want beef to be slaughtered properly with the horizontal cut, for those people who want the ingredients to be checked, right? This is a big challenge that we have as well. How many of us know this? That in many restaurants, when they're putting tawabi', when they're putting the sauces on the meat, they use pork brushes. This is very normal here. The basting brushes, they use pork brushes, right? So how many of us know about this? These are issues to look into. Even at the restaurant level, sometimes the sauces have alcohol, Sometimes there's different things in the sauces. So we are in the process of setting up a system. Right? So it's meant to be a verification system that if we give the certificate to the restaurant or to the store, we have verified all the ingredients, we have verified the source of meat, and we have checked things. That's the goal. Right? And the goal is to grow. In fact, the goal is to make life easier. That's really the goal. Right? There's a challenge. A common question that will come up, someone is traveling and they're going to, let's say they're going to Mississippi for 4 days. Now, mashallah, Detroit has a big community, mashallah, Dearborn has a big community. Here you go around, you'll find whatever you're looking for. You'll find food, you'll find this, you'll find that. Whatever you're looking for, you'll find shawarma, whatever. Mississippi, what are you going to find? Right? It's going to be a challenge. And even if there is a restaurant there, is it halal? What's going on? The sad thing we have, you guys, we have many restaurants in America that sell pork. This is normal. We have restaurants in America still that serve pork. Right? And they claim to be halal. Or we have restaurants that sell alcohol and they claim to be halal. And this is very normal. Up till now, it's very normal. Right? So now that higher standard, so that we as Muslims are educated, right? We should not be eating in a place where alcohol is being served. Right? This is the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to not eat at a table where alcohol is being served. Right? But now, if we're traveling to Mississippi, where are we going to get those options? Right? So the goal is to set up a system throughout America, wherever you go for business, for work, for vacationing, wherever you go, there is a system in place. That is the goal. So, brother, the government will not, the Jews, we have to learn from their example. They've tried this for 50 years. The government, there's a separation of church and state. Right? Brother, let me explain. There's a separate, brother, no one's enforcing it. Brother, no one's enforcing it. There's 8 halal laws in America. They don't mean anything. They have no value. They don't mean anything. Never worked, brother. And it's not going to work. Brother, we live in America. We have to know how the system works. There's a separation of church and state. The U.S. government, how many kosher cases or halal cases have come to them? They throw them out. They come to the court will say, throw them out. We're not here. We're a secular country. We're not going to enforce religious laws in this country. The Jews have had this issue since 1900. They've had this issue. And the U.S. government steps back and says, we are not going to enforce your religious laws here. You deal with them yourself. So again, brother, you're not understanding. Who's going to enforce it? Brother, who's going to enforce? If the government in Wayne County says, restaurant's going to do this, who's going to enforce it, brother? Brother, they issue, like I said, other states, brother, you have to learn, brother. America is bigger than Detroit. With all due respect, listen to what I'm saying. Brother, let me finish what I'm saying. America is bigger than Michigan. Other states have tried the same thing you're talking about. They've tried it. I'll mention the names of those states to you. New Jersey's tried it. Illinois has tried it. Other states have tried the same thing. The issue is the government cannot enforce. The government doesn't know what's halal haram. And there's different standards of halal haram. You're going to have Ahl Kitab people, you're going to have different people. There's different standards. Who's going to enforce it, brother? The solution, I can put it to you in writing right now. I can, uqsim billah, I can put it in writing. The government will not be the solution to our issues. The government will not solve our issues. I can put it in writing, I can guarantee you, and I can promise you. The government will not be the solution to our issues. And they do not have the manpower, they do not have the interest, they do not have the jurisdiction, and they're not going to get involved. And the Jews learn from their example. The Jews have gone through this. Jews have been in this country for 50 years longer than we have. The government never got, their own issues, they have to deal with their own issues themselves. The Jews, they have to deal with their own internal issues. The government will not get involved, and the government will leave the issues to themselves. Yes, there are some positives. I will say there are some positives. New Jersey has a law. If you guys have any connections with the government, New Jersey has a law. It has the best halal law in America. It has the best halal law in America. But again, the issue is enforcing. There's no one to enforce it. Their law is, as stands, any store or restaurant in New Jersey which claims to sell halal meat must have a disclosure statement, right? So this is their system. They must have a disclosure statement that in our, for example, I have a cafe, I'm just making this up, whatever, Sana Cafe. I have a restaurant called Sana Cafe. I'm just making this up. So I have to list my chicken comes from Crescent or Wayne's Farm. I have to list that. How is it slaughtered? Hand slaughtered, machine slaughtered? I have to list that. My beef comes from this restaurant. Is it hand slaughtered? How is it slaughtered? Is it stunned? My lamb comes from this place. I have to list that. Brother, I've been to New Jersey. I've been to many stores. No one has that list. The law is useless. No one's there to enforce it. The law is there in paper. No one's there to enforce it. And who's going to enforce it? The government does. New Jersey has 700 to 800 halal meat stores and restaurants. Who's going to go to all of them and get them to put this paper up? So there are some ideas. There are some things we can do. But brother, we've been doing this in America for 20 years now. We've been doing this for 20 years. We've tried different methods. We've dealt with different institutions, right? We've looked at it. The only way that we're going to set up reliable halal options in this country, we have to do it ourselves. Right? We have to do it ourselves. And alhamdulillah, today, if you visit me in Northern California, if you come to San Francisco, mashallah, we have a large Yemeni community, especially in Oakland. Mashallah, many of my friends are there as well. If you visit us there, we have 45 certified stores and restaurants. We have a system set up. We have 45 certified stores and restaurants. Right now in Detroit, we have 10 certified stores and restaurants. Right? Of course, 10 is a small percentage. From the total percentage of 500 to 600, it's a small amount. But we are working on it. But the goal, again, is to set up a universal system. You're taking your family to, for argument's sake, Orlando, Florida. Right? And again, you're there, you want to see what options you have. Okay, maybe you want to do seafood. Maybe you want to do halal meat options. Right? So we have right now, in Orlando, we have options for you. If you're traveling to Ohio, right? You're driving through Cleveland, again, we have a certified system. The goal is any major city anywhere in America that you visit, if for those people who are looking for the higher halal options, those options are there for you. That's the goal. Yes, brother. I'm sorry, brother? Yeah, so but the certification, it's a process, brother, right? So just like if anyone that wants to open up a restaurant, you have to get approved by the city, you have to get meet city codes, you have to get inspected, right? So there's a process, right? If your freezer doesn't work, or et cetera, right? The government and the city has things in place for hygiene, for you to get a license to open up a restaurant. So let me finish the explanation. So certification exists in other fields, right? Organic, for example, is highly regulated. If someone claims that their restaurant is organic, the government will be up on you. And that's the point the brother is making. These other fields are heavily regulated. Organic, if I open up a restaurant, I dare anyone. In your restaurant, put USD organic, they'll show up tomorrow. They'll show up tomorrow and they'll say, who's your certifier? Where's your paperwork? They'll come in and they'll inspect you. So the goal is something similar for halal. If a store or a restaurant is claiming to sell halal food, then check their meat suppliers, do inspections, look at their paperwork, where they're buying from, look at their sauces, look at their ingredients, and a team of people, we already have a team of people in Detroit whose job is to inspect these stores and to make sure that they're halal. So it's a peace of mind. When you see that certificate, you know someone has checked, someone has verified, and someone else has taken on this responsibility on behalf of the ummah to make sure that the suppliers are legit, the ingredients are legit, and the restaurant is legit. Yeah. Yes, brother. But I'll share with them, if you don't mind, I'll share with them with you privately. Wallahi, it's really sad. May Allah save us from hard hearts. If seeing this, wallahi, you will cry. You'd cry. Why are these people? They're making millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. And the sad thing, our halal situation, it doesn't only affect us in America. That vertical cut that I talked about for beef, it's going to Saudi Arabia, you guys. I've seen it with my own eyes. The meat slaughtered here is going to Dubai, it's going to Saudi Arabia, it's going to Muslim countries. Right? So it is important. It's not only our country, it's affecting the whole world. Yes, brother. Agreed. I don't want to spend too much time talking about our countries. That's a little bit more complicated. But I'll say this much, brother, that part of it, America controls the world, right? We are the leaders of the world, whether we like it or not. And if we are able to set up a system here, and if we are able to fix the situation here, it automatically, inshallah, will change the rest of the world, right? So I was in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh. There was a international halal conference there, right? So I spoke, the last 30 minutes they left for comments, so I raised my hand, and one of the princes was there, and I told him, I'm a Muslim from the United States of America, and I'm here to tell you, we need to work together, the Muslim countries and the Muslims need to cooperate. I told him to his face, you're getting haram meat from America coming to Saudi Arabia. I told him to his face. And I said, you need to, Sahib al-Bayt adra bima fihi, I'm from America, I know the halal situation. Really, the Muslims from these countries need to know what's going on. They need to coordinate with the Muslims there, at least inspect the places here, come see them, see what's going on. So I said this to them, and very interesting, I think that year, Saudi stopped bringing in beef from America for about 5 years. And now again, when I went for Umrah last year, American beef is there everywhere. So inshallah, may Allah guide us. In the Muslim world, it's a complicated situation. A lot of things are going on, but it's very sad. And this is what happens there as well. If you take any product, you say cheese. If you put American cheese, it'll sell for double the price, right? And this is one of the challenges. That's why they want American meat. They want the American restaurants there, TGIF, Roadhouse, Fuddruckers. They want all these places there. So this is why the situation is it's even worse. Our halal situation is messed up in America, but we're exporting our problems throughout the world. So, brother, it's a little bit more complicated. I think number one is, but a lot of it is money. Yeah, we have certifiers that are just making money, that all they care about is money. You send them $3,000, they'll send you a halal certificate. That's it. Yeah, brother. So this is part of the problem. But then the community, we don't know what's going on, brother. So brother, this was just meant to be an introductory lecture, right? We can have a more detailed lecture. We can discuss, inshallah, go into more details as well. And inshallah, it's education. If we as customers are empowered, I've seen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows a system that sometimes one of the way in the Muslim world, Wazarat al-Awqaf al-Kuwait. Wazarat al-Awqaf al-Kuwait. I had a chance to sit with the main person and explain the halal situation to them. Right? Right? So through contacts, inshallah, we can bring about change, inshallah. And I gave the example of the prince. May Allah guide all of them. That if inshallah, if we have the right contact, inshallah, we can bring about change, inshallah. Yes, brother. Yes, brother. Yes, brother. Yes, brother. So, alhamdulillah, I've been to New Zealand twice. Alhamdulillah, I've had the chance. I visited a total of about 18 slaughterhouses in New Zealand. The interesting thing is New Zealand and Australia, because of the Gulf and because of the Muslim world, they've made almost all the slaughterhouses halal. Right? Very interesting process to see. And also very interesting, I was just mentioning the story to them as well, that in New Zealand, the animal is stunned, then it comes down, then there's a rotating platform, and the cow is moved towards the Qibla, and then you slaughter the animal towards the Qibla. Right? Yes. Yes. But I'm just showing you, so New Zealand, the government of New Zealand has gotten involved. And the reason is because they want to make money from the Muslims, and because Malaysia is very strict and Indonesia is very strict, those two countries have changed. Indonesia have compared to America. So for example, New Zealand, all the beef is like this, right? So this is one thing I can say. And one other interesting thing that they've done in New Zealand, we have a problem in America. We have partial halal. So what happens? But there's things I've seen. May Allah protect us. I walk in a slaughterhouse. There's pork. There's pigs everywhere. They do the pigs, and then afterwards, 3 hours later, they come and do the halal. But how can you do? It's the same equipment. It's the same knife. It's the same place. How can you use the same facility? So New Zealand, they have a law. If a plant is doing halal, 100%. You can't do 5%. 1 hour, 2 hours, no. The whole plant has to be halal. So it's very interesting, but I think the lesson is, if the Muslims care, they can bring about a change. Yeah. And inshallah, brother, I have confidence that we can do the same thing in America. Yeah, we can do the same thing in America. We've had chances. The 8th largest poultry company in America. This is a real story I'm sharing with you. 8th largest, so we're talking about $1 billion company. 8th largest poultry company in America, the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, he became Muslim. I get a phone call in Ramadan, come drive and meet me 2 hours. I want to turn a slaughterhouse into hand slaughter. So he's a white guy, he meets with me, he goes, I've done my research, right? Halal is hand slaughter. Can you help me set up a hand slaughterhouse? I said, brother, give me the slaughterhouse. So there was a catch, brother. We joke around a little bit. There's always a catch. So we're sitting and talking in California. He goes, the slaughterhouse that I'm going to give you, it's in Louisiana, right? So like 2,000 miles away. I said, okay, no problem. So alhamdulillah, we went there. We found the slaughtermen. They started slaughtering. Alhamdulillah, that about 200,000 chickens slaughtered by hand. We're going all over America. We're coming to Michigan. We're going all over the country. Right? So inshallah, it is possible. Yes, brother. Yeah. Yeah. So to do this, brother, it's very easy. Go on Google, type in HFSAA space Detroit. Space Detroit. HFSAA space Detroit. The list is there. Public information. Anyone can get it online. Inshallah, you can get it. So Halal Food Standards Alliance of America, that's the certification organization that we set up. Yeah? Halal Food Standards Alliance of America. Yes, but our goal is to educate, right? So what I try to tell people is, look, 20 years ago, right? How many of us heard of, let's say, grass-fed beef versus grain-fed beef? Right? There's a new thing we're learning, right? There's more awareness. There's books like Omnivore's Dilemma. Now there's more things about stunned meat versus unstunned meat. So the goal is educating us, and I give the example. Right? I give the example. Look, I have an iPhone today. When the first iPhone came out, it was $600. My uncle bought one of the first iPhones. I thought he was crazy. $600 for a phone? Why would you do that? Right? But now what's happened, right? Almost everyone has iPhones. We see the benefits. We see kind of the advantages. We look at, okay, the camera size is this, the screen size is this, the memory size is this. So people are more educated on a lot of these features. So I will say the same thing when it comes to meat. There's a big difference between grass-fed and grain-fed meat. Right? Learn the difference. Right? The person gave the brother was giving an example about Costco. Costco has grass-fed beef from New Zealand. Right? So learn these advantages. Right? So, like I said, there's S23 versus S22. Okay, these features, this features. The same thing with your meat. Is it stunned? Is it hand slaughtered? Is it vegetarian feed? Is it animal feed? Right? This is another challenge we have, respected friends. How many of us know that the chickens sold in the supermarkets, many of them are fed other chickens or pork? This is the norm. This is the norm in America. The chickens are fed chickens, unfortunately. Commodity chicken. That's why it's so cheap, you guys. That's why it's so cheap. So vegetarian feed, right? Vegetarian feed, it's a serious matter. Right? Now, we work on these things. My goal is not to scare everyone, but these are things we should be worried about. That if the chicken that we're eating was fed pork, yes, that's a concern. Right? And we should be thinking more about the diet of that chicken. What is that chicken eating? And so on. Grain-fed, same thing about grain-fed. How many of us know cows, if they eat grain continuously, they'll die. They'll die. They're not meant to eat grain. So then the system here, then you have to feed them antibiotics. So these cows are unhealthy. Grass-fed is much better for ourselves, for our family, for our health. It's much better. It's going to be more expensive though, but that's why I'm saying educating ourselves on these features, on these benefits of things, it's really important. Right? The more we learn, right, the more educated we are on these things, then inshallah it will help with that. Right? So if for argument's sake, I'm just making an argument here. Tomorrow, if someone decides to open a hand slaughter, halal certified organic store, and the price, let's say it's $10 a pound, at least we respect that, right? We kind of understand that everything is grass-fed there, it's vegetarian-fed, it's slaughtered by hand. We have an idea of it. I'm not saying go there right in the beginning and pay $10 a pound, but right, we learn about these things. Right? We educate ourselves and we learn about these things.
You've been in Canton Islamic Center?
Brother, not yet.
Canton.
Not yet.
They will support 100%.
Okay, inshallah. Inshallah. Inshallah.
Here more likely.
But inshallah, brother, it's a learning process. So that's what it is. Right? We all support one another. Right? So I had an interesting, I can say, AMJA, the same American Muslim Jurors Association, they had a halal conference in LA, then they had one in Kuwait. And I attended the one in Kuwait. I was the only non-Arab there. It was all the whole thing was in Arabic. Right? I was the only non-Arab there. Alhamdulillah, we had a good conversations. Alhamdulillah, good results. And alhamdulillah, positive conclusion. Alhamdulillah. So it's awareness and educating ourselves.
You heard about Amish people?
Yes. So for a while, a lot of the hand-slaughtered chicken was Amish chicken going to these plants.
When I was in Houston, there's a poultry area. That's whenever I want to buy chicken, I go there. I want 4 of them, and I kill by myself.
Yes.
But here, when I went to some poultry,
True, brother. True, true, brother. So, but I think part of it as a whole is just us learning more about the source of the meat. I think that's a thing as well. Us learning more about the source of the meat and understanding the process, becoming more familiar with the butchers, becoming more familiar with the sources of the meat, right? It's part of the process. Right? It's part of the process. And some places allow, and the problem is there's some legal restrictions as well, right? So I told the brothers the example. How many of you guys have slaughtered a cow before in your lives? Right? So I slaughtered a cow, but I said it was illegal. It was illegal. So I was inside a slaughterhouse, right? The brother was there. He was supposed to slaughter 300 cows. And he looks up at me. He's like, "You want to slaughter a cow?" I go, "Let's go." So he gives me this machete. This knife is like this long. Cow comes in. Cow neck is up. I go, "Bismillah, and I got my cow down." Right? But the challenge is the world we're living in. We're so far away that we don't know about the process. We're not familiar with the process, and we're kind of disconnected from the process. Really. In a way, we're kind of disconnected from the process, so that makes it a little bit harder. And up till this point, there are people that they go slaughter by themselves, right? Once a month, once every two weeks, they'll go out, they'll go slaughter by themselves, they'll go slaughter a cow or some goats, and they'll bring it back. So inshallah, I think the main thing this is, as I said, I not to start any debates. We respect that they're scholars. They have different opinions, right? We respect this. But I'll simply say this. This is what I'll end on. That Muslims in America have really grown, right? And I will say this as well, with a lot of respect. The situation when they came into this country, 1950, 1960, it was a different world. I don't think many of us can even picture it. May Allah reward if there's people here who have been in America since 1960, 1970. Go ask them the stories, what it was like. Right? As one of the sheikhs tells us, he says for 5 years he didn't eat any meat. 5 years, no meat, only seafood. Right? And to be fair, it was a difficult time. Those people at that time that ate Ahl Kitab, right? They had a reason for it. There was a shortage of meat. We respect that. Today, in the year 2024, we've come a long way. We've come a very long way. And one of the sheikhs was asked, and this is very interesting, sometimes it's also awlawiyat. Right? Whether one thing is halal, whether one thing is not halal. In England, a sheikh went there in the 1950s. A very famous sheikh. He went there in the 1950s. And the people were struggling. They came to him and said, "Sheikh, please, Ahl Kitab, Ahl Kitab." He said, "No." He said, "I would think about it, but I will not give permission because it will not encourage Muslims to set up their own slaughterhouses." Think about this. You accept Ahl Kitab, you kill the incentive for Muslims to set up their own slaughterhouses. Right? And this is something we need to think about as well. Muslims owning their own slaughterhouses, Muslims owning the distribution as well, and Muslims running these slaughterhouses as well. Right? This is something for us to think about as well. Having control over these systems means we have control over the halal supply as well. And the Jews are very strict. Look at the system. Jews don't play around. There has to be a rabbi there. The slaughter is only done by the rabbi. It's not accepted by anyone else. And there has to be a stamp on that box. They have a very strict system. Right? Our system is not, honestly, if you compare our system and theirs, our system is a joke. I'm just being honest with you guys. Our system is a joke. We don't have really a reliable system in place. For them, every restaurant has to have a rabbi come and inspect. Right? They have a very strict system in place. There's things that we can learn from them. So inshallah, with that, I think we'll end things. Inshallah, let's keep the conversation going. This was just meant to be a conversation starter. Inshallah. So, Dearborn, mashallah, is, I can say I came here, source of great happiness to hear the adhan. Right? It's not something I hear the whole year. So, only in Saudi Arabia, only in Dubai, and these places. So to hear the adhan on a loudspeaker, alhamdulillah, it is a tremendous honor. And inshallah, we hope, inshallah, more to set up to expand and to set up more certified places here in Dearborn, here throughout Detroit, and inshallah to make life easier for people. Right? The goal is just to make life easier for people. Those people who want to continue eating Ahl Kitab, no problem, do your thing. Those people who want the higher option, alhamdulillah, let's provide that option and work towards that option. So the last point I think that I'll end with was this. Those mashayikh who came here in the 1960s, those people who came in the 1960s, who had to live through a time where there was no halal meat, they did what they had to do at that time. Today, we're living the year 2024, right? The total halal meat stores and restaurants in America right now is probably close to 5 to 10,000. 5 to 10,000 halal meat stores and restaurants, right? Do we need to take this fatwa of Ahl Kitab still, right? It's just something to think about. Whether you take it or not, that's up to you. But just something to think about. It's the year 2024. Really, mashallah. You walk into Walmart, you'll see halal meat there. You walk into Costco, you'll see halal meat there. You walk into Whole Foods, you'll see halal meat there. Are we still taking this outdated fatwa from 1960s, bro? Really? And I can say it was long story. I don't want to go into much more detail, but I will say, for me, I was just a young person. Year 2012, we had a conference, right? We had a conference in LA. After the conference, all the mashayikh went to a kosher steakhouse. All the mashayikh. And I don't want to mention the names. These are famous people with hundreds of thousands of followers. All of us went to a kosher steakhouse. We're sitting in LA. There's 500 halal restaurants around. Right? Is there a need at that point in time to go to a kosher steakhouse? Anyways, I'll just leave it at that. It's just food for thought. People have their reasons for doing things, but think about this. This is just food for thought. Right? I'll end with this last thing. Imam Shafi rahimahullah said, he said, I would rather take, if I had the food of Ahl Kitab right in front of me, and I had the meat slaughtered by a woman in Haida, a woman who's impure, who's in a state of Haid, I would take the meat slaughtered by the woman in Haid over the Ahl Kitab. This is also mentioned by Imam Shafi, this is mentioned in his books. Things, food for thought. Literally, this is food for thought, something to think about. Wallahu a'lam bis-sawab, wallahu a'lam bil-haqiqa. إن كان الصواب فمن الله وإن كان الخطأ فمني ومن الشيطان. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون. السلام عليكم الحمد لله رب العالمين. Brother, so there's an organization called Halal Transaction in Omaha. They are one of the worst. So much more I can say. I met the person as well. He specializes in exports to Muslim countries. Maybe you've heard of this whole situation in Egypt. Yeah, containers and containers of beef liver is going there. It's not halal, not slaughtered, not halal at all. Containers. Halal transaction in Omaha. That certifier, this is problematic. That's the main one. That's the main one. They also put Zabiha from machine slaughter. They're one of the main culprits.
Another point I heard mention regarding that
Yeah.
So he's saying that you are allowed to eat from Ahl Kitab, but what they claim to be from Ahl Kitab is not really Ahl Kitab. It may be run by Christians or something.
So this